Sometimes doctors say milk पीना चाहिए, sometimes they say you don't have to drink milk. What really is the case? Now my earliest memory of milk is my sister and I given Bonvita and Horlicks right before going to school. It was mandatory for us to drink our milk before we get up from the dining table, before we finish our breakfast and the school bus came, and most of the time we did not resist. We liked the flavor of the sugar sweetened milk because Bonvita or Horlicks was always added to our milk. As I started growing older, I came across one of my school teachers who was speaking about the ethical aspects of milk consumption, who was speaking about milk coming from cows, so not being very ethical. It was not enough to convince me to stop drinking milk. I continued enjoying my milk and paneer and cheese and ghee like most other people. But soon after, I came across this book called China Study. Very fascinating book. And the book spoke about the harmful effects of milk, particularly milk being a cause for cancer. Can you even imagine that? Milk leading to cancer, milk causing cancer. And the book was very, very convincing and made me want to stop drinking milk. I almost gave it up instantly and haven't looked back since then. But over the period of time, I have educated myself enough and I now talk from science. This video will explain you further and my reasons, 5 specific reasons why you should not be drinking milk in India. Let's dive in. Number 1. Milk related to type 1 diabetes, particularly in children. My job is as a nutritionist, specifically working for chronic disease reversal, meaning we are seeing parents all the time bring their little ones to us with type 1 diabetes. And unlike type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes cannot be reversed. We can only manage the conditions. And it's heartbreaking to see young kids having to pump themselves with insulin with every meal they are having. If something can be done to prevent this, then shouldn't we do everything in our power and at least try and prevent it? Now, milk is linked to type 1 diabetes. Early childhood dairy consumption is linked to type 1 diabetes in children. What is the risk rate? As per one study, as much as 50%. Twin studies where one twin is exposed to milk and other twin is not exposed to milk carries a 50% increased risk for type 1 diabetes. There's no genetic factor also here because the twins share the same gene, but just milk exposure can lead to diabetes. This is one reason to avoid it. Number 2, the adulteration of milk in India. This particular incident happened a few years back where 2 brothers were caught adulterating milk in a small town in Chambal and supplying it to the people over there and made lakhs and lakhs, in fact crores of rupees out of it. In fact, the daily requirement for the town of Chambal in terms of milk consumption was about 30 liters. So people needed about 30 liters of milk per day in terms of consumption. But the production of milk based on the number of cows which were there was only 11 liters. So the production is 11 liters. But there's 30 liters of milk in the supply. What do you think is happening? Where is the additional milk coming from? Milk, especially in India, is often adulterated with a lot of ammonia, urea, paint, water, so many other things. Water is not that bad, but everything else can make milk almost poisonous to you. In fact, if you ever have family members or friends who own dairy farms, you can talk to them and they will explain how the cost of milk when compared to the cost of raising the cattle and hoarding the cattle and also providing real estate food for the cattle is so low that they have to adulterate milk or to bring it into supply. Adulteration is a huge cause, and what do you think is happening to everything which is added to milk which is an additive? It's coming into your system and spreading diseases. This is another reason you should stop consuming milk. Do not consume milk. Number 3, use of antibiotics. Now, we don't have enough real estate. Oftentimes, in cow sheds, cows are kept very close to each other. They don't have access to open grounds like shown in pictures. They are not feeding on grass. They are urinating, defecating on themselves. They are also infected with various diseases. They have wounds, they have scars which are not often treated, and a lot of antibiotics are given to the animal to treat the animal. All of these infections and the use of medications on the animals gives rise to resistant antibiotics in the cow's gut, and through the cow is transferred to our gut when we are consuming them. So what really happens if we have resistant antibiotics? Imagine you have a child and the child has, let's say, a foodborne infection like food poisoning, a salmonella or E. coli infection. You want to give the child antibiotics to fight off the infection, right? And if you don't do that, chances are the child could also die from a foodborne infection. Now, if your child has developed a resistance towards antibiotics, then your child will not react to the antibiotic which is given for an infection, and this could be life-threatening. But do we have any proof for this? Do we have proof that people who do not consume milk actually don't have as much resistant bacteria in the gut? We do have proof. This is one other study which will help you understand and which will help you see that people who don't consume milk, vegans, people who don't have any dairy products in their diet, don't have as much resistant microbiota in their gut. Meat eaters, because meat is also a form of antibiotics, you're also consuming it from the animals, and dairy consumption of vegetarians who consume dairy do have antibiotic resistant bacteria in their gut. This is another reason to avoid milk in your consumption. Number 4, we have a myth that milk is very nutritionally dense. Specifically talking about nutrients, there are 2 nutrients which keep coming up: vitamin D. Milk has vitamin D, milk has calcium, so we should be drinking it. Since I did not stop drinking milk when I came to know that ethically it's not right for your body, but I did not have enough proof that health-wise also it's not good for you. I thought health-wise it's still important, because where am I going to get my calcium if I don't drink milk? Where will I get my vitamin D from? Now, vitamin D is not found in milk. Milk is fortified with vitamin D. Fortified means when the milk is there, vitamin D is added as a supplement to the milk before consumption. So milk naturally does not have any vitamin D. Might as well just take a supplement which has vitamin D. And right now, with our exposure to sunlight going down and down and down, we are not spending as much time outdoors. Vitamin D supplement is a better option. Milk consumption is not, when you weigh the pros and cons. What about calcium? Milk is rich in calcium, right? For calcium to be absorbed by the body, you want calcium with a certain ratio of another nutrient, which is magnesium. So for every 2 units of calcium, you want to consume 1 unit of magnesium. If you're consuming too much calcium and too little magnesium, then the absorption of calcium in the body goes down and in fact is inflammatory and puts you at the risk of heart diseases. The ratio of calcium to magnesium in milk is 12:1. When your ideal ratio should be 2:1, in milk the ratio is 12:1. So milk has way much more calcium than magnesium, and this actually is not healthful but is harmful. In fact, one study also showed that countries with the highest consumption of milk also had the highest risk of hip fractures and osteoporosis. It's actually more harmful to the bones and not healthful to the bones. Even doctors now will tell you that milk is not very good for the bones. You want to get your calcium from sources like leafy green vegetables and certain nuts and seeds and certain pulses like soy, which are very rich sources of calcium and have a good calcium to magnesium ratio. Number 5, milk and gut health. We see clients with IBD, IBS, all of these GERD very often, and everyone, doctors to nutrition coaches, will tell you the first thing you want to drop from your diet is dairy. In fact, 50% of results for many clients come from just dropping dairy from your diet. This includes milk, paneer, cheese, ghee, butter, all of these products. Milk is triggering to your gut. It is inflammatory. Milk does not suit your body very well. In fact, a large part of the world population cannot digest the sugars in milk called lactose. And because of this, we have reactive issues. Your gut reacts. You're going to have problems like constipation and bloating, asthma, acidity, allergic reactions, things we don't even relate to, like immunity becomes low. And once you start switching to alternative sources, stop milk and switch to alternative healthier sources, you do also see that your brain fog symptoms go away. You start feeling much better. You're much more energetic. Inflammation levels come down. So many benefits. And this is not me talking from a one-person experience. I'm talking from science, and I'm also talking from a lot of experience working with so many different clients. And just by making that one switch in your diet, switching milk, removing milk, reducing milk, anything, you'll start seeing the difference instantly in your gut health. If gut is the predictor of any chronic disease, if gut is the predictor of autoimmune disease, then shouldn't you be doing everything possible to take care of your gut? Gastroenterologists also will tell you that milk is triggering to the gut, and especially if you have IBD, IBS, GERD, any kind of gut related symptoms, stop milk and see how your gut reacts. Most often people see a difference in as little as 7 to 10 days. What's the harm? Just try it for 7 days. I hope this video gives you a lot of clarity. I have written a detailed blog about milk consumption and why you should avoid milk consumption specifically in India. The link to the same is in the bio below. And this is Roshni Sangvi. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist. Hope this helps.